Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be going back to VATSIM and we're going to be experiencing getting transition. So some of the things we've seen before is basically all about, going ahead and getting a clearance and getting different flight plans and everything followed out. But once in a while you don't need all that hassle of flight following and you just want to get through a big nasty airspace. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we're going to be flying today, as well as kind of take an opportunity to kind of brief you guys a little bit on sort of what we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our little flight plan here. We're going to be taking off from Delta Regional and we're going to be flying through Memphis Airspace and we're going to be landing over here at Whitehurst Field. It's about 87 miles. It'll take us about 32 minutes, but don't worry, I'll fast forward to make it a little easier. But in this route, we're going to be transiting this massive, massive airspace that actually has dimensions that go all the way down to 3,000 feet. Now, my intention today is to fly at about 5,500 feet to take advantage of some of this beautiful weather above my head, as well as a nice strong tailwind. So what we're going to have to do today is right after takeoff, so we're actually going to have to call their approach and request transition through their airspace so that we can get all the way out to Whitehurst Field. So it's going to be an interesting little experience, and it's going to be a little less stressful, at least we hope. So one thing I have in front of me right now is I have my little notebook pretty much ready to go, ready to take any of those cool notes that are going to be coming down along my way. Now, as far as a flight plan goes, let me go ahead and grab that real fast. We're going to go ahead and take a look. I've basically filed it as direct, and I went ahead and said, how much time it's going to take, what my cruise speed are, and everything along those lines. It is really critical that you follow one of these because the people at Memphis Control will be able to click on you and know exactly what your intentions are. They can actually see how long it will take you to get through all that. So this is a very, very powerful tool to kind of help them out as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and get rolling. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get inside the airplane here. We want to go ahead and dial in our frequencies. I like to use this because it's a little bit quicker. So we want to go ahead and now pop on 122.800. We're going to set that up immediately. Now we're going to go ahead and grab Memphis Approaches particular piece. Now where this gets tricky is right now Memphis only has their East Approach controller. And that's going to be a 125.800. So I'm just going to do 125.800, and I'm going to go ahead and load that in. So now my Unicom, which you're always going to be using to contact people kind of around, is going to be right there. And then I have my regular frequency, which, like I said, we're going to have to contact in order to get through the airspace at Memphis once we hit that particular point. Now, where this gets interesting is what I'll actually do is send this guy a private message and ask if I need to talk to him before I hit the airspace or after I've already crossed into where he is. Now, in the real world, of course, you'd want to be contacting, again, let me go grab my little diagram real fast here. You want to be contacting them before you cross into it. But in this case, if it's just the east side that is under control right now, we're basically going to have to contact them right when we're about to kind of cross the middle here. But like I said, just for safety's purposes, I will contact them early to just say, hey, do you want me to contact you when I cross into your east region? And usually they're very good about kind of letting you know exactly what that's going to be. So let's go ahead and do it to it. So I'll go and take this. Again, this is the little GTN 750. I love this thing because it interfaces with everybody else at the same time, making stuff like this really, really simple. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, flip on my map. I don't need it right now. Go ahead and close that out. We'll go ahead and make our call here. Again, this is Delta Regional Field. This is pretty cool. And we're just going to kind of let them know what we're doing here. Release the parking brake. Let's get rolling. It's such a beautiful day. I cannot get over how nice this weather is. Ooh, get a little bit of crosswind. Let's go ahead and dictate our controls into that crosswind. Delta Regional Traffic, Red 64 is taxiing via Alpha. Let's kind of give them a little heads up. And we're just going to kind of make our way down this little road. I love the fact that there's a tree on the inside of the airport. It's just like, okay, we're just going to let that grow and block line of sight to other aircraft. That seems safe. All right, going to go down here, make sure everything else is just set up just the way I want it to be. It looks pretty good. Pitot heat, we're going to go ahead and get a notch of flaps for takeoff here. And we're going to go, there's the warning line to give us a heads up that we're about to cross into the runway. There's our big old sign right there. I can see it kind of hiding in the grass. Again, somebody's got to go ahead and make this a little bit easier to see here. Because, I mean, if you do one of these things, you're like, what runway are we on? It's clearly runway 18. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and make sure all my avionics are kind of ready to go for my flight here. I'm going to set my CDI to FMS here. I'm going to make sure my selected altitude has been pre-selected. One thing I like to do is to kind of capture the runway heading and go ahead and use that. But for this particular case, because we don't have any craziness kind of coming down our way, I'm not going to worry about that. But I will go ahead and check to make sure everything's good in that direction. We're going to make sure our transponder is turned on. We want to make sure this is working so that people on the ground know exactly where we are, as well as people in the air, obviously. So we're going to go back. We're good to go. Delta Regional. Make sure you press the right button. Delta Regional Traffic, Red 64 is taking off runway 18 with an east departure. And that's all we got to do. So now we're just going to kind of get ourselves on the handy-dandy runway right here. Tap the brakes. We're going to go double check to make sure our lights are set correctly here. Nav, for some reason the beacon did not come on when I clicked the button. Like I said, things you need to check. Yeah, we're taking the Bonanza today because the Bonanza goes. Alright, you can see that really, really good tailwind that's going to help us out. We don't want to tarry at all, so we're going to go ahead and jam that throttle all the way forward smoothly. And we're going to go ripping down this runway here. Feel that wind. I'm going to go ahead and dictate my controls. Stick them into the thing. Whoa! That's what I call a crosswind. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and slap those landing gear up. And let's immediately start crabbing to correct for the wind. Now, this is what I call some serious wind. Wow. I was not mentally expecting that. Let's go ahead and pop those flaps up now that we have no runway underneath us. Go ahead and give ourselves a little tiny bit of trim. And I'm going to go ahead and start making my way in this direction. Now, we do not have a long time before we're going to be crossing into that airspace. So I'm immediately going to pop over to that other frequency. But let's get everybody a quick little heads up that we're departing to the east. Delta Regional Traffic, Red 64 is departing to the east, 700 feet. That's it. All right, we're gone. So now we're going to go ahead and swap frequencies. I'm going to come over here and bop the swap button. Sounds so much cooler than it really is. And we're just going to swing around here. Push my flight selector mode. Back up a couple RPM. We don't need to be sitting on 2,500. And we are looking pretty good. We're going to have to work fast here. Alright, I've just sent a quick little message over to them basically saying, would you prefer me to contact you when I get to east, or would you rather me contact you before I enter that zone? Now remember, when you're dealing with Cross Bravo airspace, which is what we're dealing with right now, again, blue circles, what you're going to have to do is remember you cannot go in until you've been cleared to go in. This is completely different than Bravo, Charlie airspace, where basically once they say your tail number, you're basically legal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to hold a little bit low of an altitude until I get a confirmation from that guy. If you remember, the altitude starts at 3,000. Okay, so we just got a quick little thing that says go ahead and contact them via that. Okay, that's easy enough. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to request transition. So what we do is we basically give them a quick little ring, and we say who we are and what we want. Memphis Approach, Red 64, good morning.
Good morning, Red 64, Memphis Approach. Reset your transponder, squawk 0704.
0704, Red 64.
Red 64, radar contact 2,500, about 35 miles west of the Memphis VOR. Maintain VFR at or below 10,500, and you are cleared into the Memphis Class Bravo airspace.
I'm just writing everything down. Memphis Approach, Red 64 will maintain VFR, cleared transition through the Memphis airspace at or below 10,500 feet.
Red 64, the Memphis altimeter at this moment 3009er.
3009er, Red 64. And that's it. So in this case, what had happened is because we had already filed the flight plan, he knew that we were coming and we were going to go ahead and make our way up through that altitude. So in this very rare case, he actually had given us approval before we even hit a point where we actually needed to call for the approval. So this is definitely a happy day indeed. This does not happen very often, and it looks like my automatic pilot is not working. So I'm going to go ahead and fight that a little bit. Remember, because of the way they change things in the world update, you might hit issues where you have no ability to control the actual aircraft itself. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this thing back under control. And we're just going to kind of fly it the old-fashioned way, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and grab my heading hold. So if this happens to you, just bow up the heading button, select heading hold. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure my on about is back flipped on. We'll grab our flight level change. We'll go ahead and increase our flight level speed here. So we'll do a vertical speed. Keep it simple today. We'll do about 800 feet per minute. I'm going to push the throttle the rest of the way. And now we can start actually worrying about everything else. Nice. Okay, so normally what would happen if things were a little bit busier, like I said, hey, I'll take what I can get, because very rarely in the real world do you get so spoiled, because like I said, you got to deal with it. So in this particular case, normally what you would have done is you would have called them and said, requesting transition to the Charlie airspace, and you go ahead and give your altitude, and you'd also go ahead and give what your destination is. In this case, because we're on VATSIM, they knew my destination, and they already knew my altitude that I desired for that particular position. So what they did is they cleared me through it before I even asked for it. Now, one of the things you'll see there is that quick little contact I made at the beginning when I said, Memphis Center, or Memphis Approach, rather, Red 64. That was just a quick little, hey, heads up that I'm talking to you guys right now. And if you're curious about my little pathway of messages here, I'll kind of show you what it looks like. This was my quick little message, again, because I wasn't sure because it was East Approach. Again, always ask, and then you just contact him via the frequency, and he already knew immediately that I was basically set up and ready to kind of talk to the guy. So again, one of the nice things, too, is if you look at the time of day right now, let's see here. Where's our clock on this sucker? It's one of those things where I always miss it. So it's about 7:17 in the morning. That's actual time. So there's not going to be a lot of traffic yet. But at the very least, we did get a neat opportunity to kind of experience it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of speed things up a little bit. I will meet you on the other side of Memphis airspace. Now, I interrupt our original intention of going ahead and kind of coming through. We just got a call from Tower. They asked us to climb to 7,500. The reason they asked us to do this is on account of the fact that we're basically crossing into the departure corridor of the Memphis airport. So what they're trying to do is basically get us in this teeny, tiny little slot. Like if you actually take a look over here on the Garmin, you can see this little kind of a rectangle that we have right here. They're going to get us into this like little spot so that all the people departing Memphis right now are basically going to have a nice smooth transition so that we don't go smacking into them. So it's actually very cool, and like I love the fact that I picked this particular scenario because it makes things just a little tiny bit trickier for us, but it also shows you that it's not that much more complicated. One thing that we missed, unfortunately, is a moment ago he did call us and say, hey, can you do 7,500? I said, yeah, sure. So, we're bonanza. We have no problem with that. Obviously, if there were things like clouds that prevented us, we could call him back and say unable. But in this particular case, we're just going to sail right up to the altitude they asked us to. And eventually, once we get outside of the corridor, he'll probably say altitude my own discretion, but we'll get you when we get there. This is kind of cool. We're at 7,500 feet right now, and if you actually look right over here, other than downtown Memphis, you can actually see the airport, which we're inconveniencing at the moment. So hence bringing us all the way up here to 7,500 feet. I love how you got like all the different rabbit trails kind of coming through here. But I was really hoping, but I can't actually make them out. There's a really good number of airplanes basically getting ready to go right now. So when they do take off, they're basically going to sail right underneath us. Would not be surprised if they go ahead and call us back, but I'll try to catch it if they do.
And maintain VFR at or below 10,500 as stated before.
Maintain VFR at or below 10,000 Red 64. So what they just did is gave us a quick call to sort of give us a heads up that, hey, you've gotten off the departure end. You can go ahead and do everything you need to do as long as you don't cross 10,000 feet. Now, you're probably asking, why are we not crossing 10,000 feet? Well, the answer to this one is actually pretty straightforward. Basically, what happens is, I'll go ahead and grab this desktop again real fast, is the fact that, if you remember... If you remember, this airspace ends at 10,000 feet. So what he's doing is he's keeping us inside of the airspace so that he can keep us protected.
For American 845 Heavy, Memphis Approach, radar contact 2,500, climb and maintain 16,000.
Approach American 845 Speedy had a tail strike,
so like I was...
radar vector 2 liner to Memphis.
So like I was saying, basically...
845, make a left turn, heading 090, maintain 5,000.
Left turn, 090.
We gotta be careful here, because you might call us and say, hey, by the way, there's an airliner coming at you.
What's your failure?
Tail strike.
What's that? American 845, expected visual approach, runway 18 left.
Expect visual approach, runway 18 left, American 8.
This guy just took off also. Okay. So like I was saying, he's keeping us in his airspace so he can keep an eye on us. If we pop out of 10,000 feet, we're no longer in his control zone, in which case we don't have to worry about anything. But if you take a look at our little airspace ometer right here real quick, you'll notice we're just passing out of the middle of his central Charlie here. When we cross this line, what he's going to do is he's going to tell us to maintain VFR and kind of get out of here. Now, if you remember our total flight here, we've only got about 12 minutes left of our flight, so we have to actually start our descent pretty much right away. So one thing to remember, though, is like I said with those pictures with the airspaces, remember the lower limit here is 5,000 feet, the lower limit here is 3,000 feet. So what we can do is we can duck down to 5,500. Whenever you do altitude changes and you're in somebody's airspace, it's always a really, really good idea to kind of let them know sort of what your intention is so they know what's happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dial in 5,500 feet here. And I'm just going to give them a quick little heads up that...
American 845, turn left, heading 360.
So he's bringing this guy to the north.
60, American 845.
Memphis Approach, Red 64 is at 7,500, descending for 5,500. I'm just giving him a quick heads up that, hey, I'm coming down. Now remember, he said VFR altitude at our discretion.
Calling Memphis Approach, say your call sign again.
Memphis Approach, Red 64 is at 7,400, descending for 5,500.
Red 64, roger. Maintain VFR at or below 5,500.
Maintain VFR at or below 5,500, Red 64. So all we're doing is just saying, hey, we're diving down to basically stay in his airspace, which remember, it bottoms out at 5,500, but we're giving ourselves time to descend because we need to actually get the plane back down on the ground in a little bit. Remember, this is Memphis. It's no mountains here, no mountains here. But the other problem we have is if you look at our traffic meter here, you can see that this guy is basically flying the pattern right now, so he's going to be doing one of these kind of deals, so we need to make sure we get out of him. In about 2 seconds, he's going to call us up, and he's going to say, go ahead and maintain VFR squawk, 1,200 or whatever he's going to go ahead and do here. We'll see what he actually said.
Roger, hello, November 7, 0 maintaining VFR at 2,500, flying runway heading.
All right.
November 70, Echo Uniform. You want to go VFR or IFR?
I'm flying VFR to Millington Airport.
November 70, Echo Uniform, Memphis Approach, good morning. Reset your transponder, squawk 0705.
0705, Echo Uniform.
All right. We're about to get outside of his airspace, so he's gonna hand us off to the nothingness. Ready? Here it comes. Remember, still in his airspace. Watch this, watch this. Well, maybe. He might also wait a minute before he hands us off. We'll see, we'll see. Ready? He's watching me on the monitor, I guarantee it. This is why autopilot is like the greatest thing ever. You can just set the autopilot and just concentrate.
845 to maintain 3,000, maintain present heading.
2maintain 3,000, maintain present heading. American 845.
November 70, Echo Uniform, radar contact 2,500.
Yeah, we're definitely outside of his airspace now.
4,500, present heading at this moment.
Present heading, maintain.
So what we can do is we can also call him and say, hey, we're clear of you, Charlie. We'll see, we'll see. Maybe. Giving him a chance. Like I say, I don't want to do his job. He's very busy with a lot of traffic that just took off right now. But like I said, we do need to consider descending here. I'm going to go check my DM.
Echo Uniform, resume all navigation, maintain at or below 4,500.
Ah.
Maintain at or below 4,500, you can pushing November 7, 084.
Now, the interesting thing here is we're still in his procedural area because we're less than 30 nautical miles away from him. So I misspoke a little bit earlier. But again, it's another one of those situations where you gotta double check things. Even though the chart shows it one way, you want to just double check to make sure that you're not accidentally flying through somebody else's zone or something along those lines. As a matter of fact, if we go call this up real fast, we can see that the line we were looking at is actually this line here. The line we need to worry about is this one here. This is the Mode C line. So in this particular case, believe it or not, we're still in his airspace, even though our Garmin told us that we were not in his airspace. So I have misspoken, but I think it's just important that you kind of know about that as well. That could have been pretty messy if I said I was clear of his Charlie, and then he calls me back and says, you're not. And I can tell you you're not clear of his Charlie because there's a VOR station with a DME located at Memphis Airport, and I actually dialed that one in so I could keep track of how close to the edge of his airspace he is. Once we cross the 30 nautical mile line, then we will be outside of his particular zone. So actually, that ended up being a pretty good teachable moment. I sort of appreciate that. So I'm glad that that one did come up there. So again, make sure you have your chart handy whenever you're doing this and follow the instructions of air traffic control if you do not want to embarrass yourself nearly as much as I constantly do. I'm just going through my pieces here. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. All right. So I'll go ahead and get you right when we hit 29 nautical miles. All right, we're at 29 nautical miles. Remember, his zone is 30 nautical miles wide.
And King Air 0 Echo Uniform, remain VFR east of the airport, please.
Okay, remain VFR east of the field, November 7 direct uniform.
And I mean east of Memphis International.
Okay, east of the Memphis International Airport, direct uniform.
All right, we've just crossed 30 nautical miles. We're clear of the Charlie. Memphis approach, Red 64 is clear of your airspace.
Red 64, you are leaving my airspace. Memphis Center is offline at this moment. Radar service is terminated. Switch to Unicom. Enjoy the rest of your flight and squawk 1200. So long.
Squawk 1200, enjoy the rest of the flight. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for your services, Red 64. And that's it. And we're clear. So now at this point forward, we're going to switch back to Unicom. So I'm going to go mash this button real quickly. And that's going to switch us over to the universal communication frequency, in which case we just got to announce what we're going to be doing here for Mike 08. So Mike 08, as you probably remember from a little bit earlier, is actually known as the Willem Whitehurst Field, so you can just call it Whitehurst traffic. So in this case, we're just going to get some quick information here. Whitehurst traffic, we're 5 minutes away, a distance of 15 miles. Remember, the wind today is coming out of the south. Whitehurst traffic, Red 64 is 50 miles to the west, inbound into a right traffic for the south-facing runway Whitehurst. So, of course, my mistake there is not having the number in front of my face. But we're going to make our way down, and like I said, I'll come get you folks right when we're returning to final. Oh my, now that is what I call a crosswind. This is incredible. Well, I knew it was going to be a little windy with that high-pressure front coming in. I did not realize it was going to be below me off the final approach windy. But, we'll make the best of it. All right, we're going to swing this thing down. I've got everything done. I got my gumples checked. I'm on the right fuel tank. I'm on the right landing gear. I always like to look externally. Yeah, it looks good. Flaps are down, and we're going to kind of skid this thing. So our wind today is not very pleasant, but welcome to the real world. It always does this. Getting a little slow. A couple more RPMs here. One last check of everything. Looks pretty good. A good old runway 19er. Pull the power back. We're going to have to go ahead and left foot, right wing. Let's go ahead and put that right wing down first. And we're just going to come down nice and gentle. Woo. Try not to... Whoa, oh, that's windy. That was fun. All right, folks, hopefully this video is helpful. Again, the big thing we learned here today was when you are calling them, it's always better to just call them if they say no, for example, and it's like, hey, we need you to call us back a little bit later or something along those lines. You can always do something like that, and it's not going to cause you too much consternation. One of the neat things here, too, is we got the experience of them having vectoring us around just a tiny bit. So, again, it's kind of a neat little experience. So, again, if you ever need confident flying through somebody's zone, remember, you can always get flight following also as a way to kind of get continuous coverage. Whitehurst traffic, Red 64 is clear of the runway. Other than that, enjoy.